So over the past week, I've been working on my first project for GitHub, full scale project, and I've completely lost myself in that because I've chosen not the right one. These are the things that I've learned over the past week, and the biggest one is it's it's not in the context of machine learning. It's not about following and doing the right thing. It's about following exactly what ML workflow structure says. So in my case, I have chosen 15 years of stock data of five or six biggest companies on earth, which is Google, Microsoft, Amazon, and something else. The goal of the project has been to classify if the stock has been volatile based on a closing price over the given time frame. And so I've successfully failed with determining that, and by this time I've tried many things to just grasp what am I doing wrong. And my first mistake has been that I didn't follow the structure of workflow. The structure of workflow starts from choosing a project actually. So in my case, I just asked ChatGPT what project should I start off with, and it gave me a couple of suggestions. And I'm a big finance guy, and I like finance to death. And this is why I chose finance, because I thought it's gonna be cool. And but I didn't realize that there are gonna be techniques that I haven't learned yet, because finance, like machine learning and finance, are are complex and complicated. So the first, you basically outline the objective of the project, and the second is you need to clean the data. Basically, EDA, which stands for exploratory data analysis, is to try to understand what is this data set comprised of. This is the stage where you basically plot a lot of diagrams. You try to figure out what is this stock data like, and all these kind of things. Cleaning is the part that I'm completely, I wouldn't say I'm completely, but I feel that there is much more room for improvement for me. And to be honest, I do feel that this is the part of machine learning, basically workflow, that I struggle with the most. This stage of workflow comes the first after choosing the basically outlining the objectives of a project. And this stage I struggle with the most because of a lot of things, and especially knowing in this instance particularly where I need to work with financial data. And although I understand it, but it doesn't matter because I just cannot clean it. I don't understand what to do with it. One thing that I've realized, that in real world projects are going to be much more complicated, or maybe they're only for me now. But going back to the main lesson that I've learned, which is to do everything in the right order, I've done this actually in the right way, but I've overcomplicated things. I thought that I need to create a function that is going to be basically calculating and iterating over every stock whenever you call it, and whatever stock you pick and call the function on it, it's gonna be creating the predictions for it. But then I messed everything up because it was a lot more easier. So basically, you choose one company, volatility of which you want to predict, and then work with one company. I didn't need to do the whole function and iteration. And this lesson, which is always remember the order of things, which is the most important part in machine learning workflow, uh, comes along with do not overcomplicate things. When it comes to modeling, I've tried a couple of models, because since my goal has been to predict 0 or 1, basically whether stock has been volatile or not, yes or no. So it's a classification problem, and I've tried a couple of models. Some of them are gradient boosting classifier, decision tree classifier, random forest, and I thought I've done a pretty good job on that, because I was like, I printed accuracy score on test and training data, and it said that, like, on training data it's 0.94, on test data it's 0.93. So I was pretty happy with that, because another thing that I've learned is the difference between accuracy in uh, training data and test data. Well, if it's more than 5%, then it becomes kind of intermediate problem. If it's less than 5%, then it's near to perfect model. If it's more than 10%, it's basically, I wouldn't say horrible model, but it performs bad, and it cannot generalize well. In my case, when I plotted the graph, I had a 93 on the training, or 92 or 90 on training data, and I had 75 on a test. And I couldn't realize what did I mess up. Presumably, I messed up with chronological order, because I didn't set up the date column to date time, and it could have been the reason why. But I've published that project I've committed that project on GitHub, and I still have that there. And I'll try to figure out what have I done wrong, although I've been trying that for a whole week now. Actually, I want to pause this video and say that today on Sunday I successfully completed the whole project, and it took me a while and a couple of times to redo it, like, completely. And finally I learned what was I doing wrong. I'll be talking about this later. So I also committed it to GitHub, final commit with some improvements. It took me a while how to learn how to build a README documents. And yes, this is what I was about to say. So going back to machine learning workflow, after highlighting the overview, after cleaning the data, after doing the EDA, exploratory data analysis, after defining basically a model and fitting it with the data from the data set, it is time for evaluation. The process of model evaluation is the most time consuming, because you are simply trying. And the whole idea of evaluation of the model comes down to one thing: trying to find different to tune different parameters, or trying to implement regularization, or trying to look at different metrics. And some of the metrics that I didn't know and I needed to use in machine learning, although it's used widely, is ROC or AUC. In my case, I've used a couple of metrics that I'm quite familiar with, which is F1 score. I've used precision, I've used recall, and I've used accuracy score. And just to recap, main lessons I've learned is, first, I have to follow machine learning workflow structure rigidly, because if it doesn't matter if you do right things, if you don't do them in the right order, your model will be performing bad. The second thing is that I need to remember to keep the bigger picture in mind of what I'm trying to do with the model, because that will determine each line that I'm writing. Third thing is that you need the process of evaluation is trying and the most time consuming. It is one thing to choose a model that you're going to be basing your predictions on, but another thing to find different parameters for it that will be suitable for the performance. In my case, I don't have very well performant model on that one, but I will try to look from a different angle on this project, because now I understand it more over this year, and something tells me inside that this is actually a very simple project to implement. I just don't know how. And on one hand, I want to I realize I can switch to another project which is more easier, but on the other hand, I realize that well, the grass is greener on the other side. I just do not know that it's fertilized with shit. Like that project will have the same problems, but it's I choose the problems to solve. Like with this one, which is financial data I've never worked with. For example, on Code Academy, I've worked with prediction of wine quality, or any other basically simple project, or iris classification, and all these kind of projects which are relatively simple, whereas finance is another story, and you need to keep in mind a lot of different small quirky things that can basically mix everything up easily. Now I choose the problem that I do not know how to solve, because I honestly have no clue, and artificial intelligence, it helps me a lot to understand, and I don't use Copilot for now. I think that it's not an option for me when I try to understand how everything works, so I will know how to do it intuitively. Yeah, and this is the problem that I'm trying to solve now, is the problem that I don't know, which I basically absolutely another level of machine learning in machine learning. So which is basically absolutely another level in a machine learning industry. And I will, but first of all, I need to complete this one, maybe try another one, and complete another one, and then I will start another thing. And this is me trying to tell myself, what have I done wrong? What can I learn from what I've done wrong? And simply documenting by so documenting and trying to articulate all the problems, so I can understand better what am I doing, which is basically absolutely another level in a machine learning industry. But first of all, I need to complete this one, maybe try another one, and complete another one, and then I will start another thing. And this is me trying to tell myself, what have I done wrong? What can I learn from what I've done wrong? And documenting and trying to articulate all the problems, so I can understand better what am I doing.